Hey everyone, how you doing? This is Amon Green, Gourmet Packers all-time leading rusher, and you're watching Packers Total Access Live, your daily source for Packer content. Go Pack, go!
What's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on packernet.com. Find me on Twitter at Packers_access. You can also find our Overflow podcast channel wherever you get your podcast. Just search Packer Fan Total Access. Hopefully, everybody's having an awesome day here on February the 11th. I know we got Valentine's Day right around the corner. Gentlemen, get you get your ducks in one row. Let's say it that way. All right. We used to say get you something in. Get your crap in one sock. Trying to think of how we could keep it PG-13. Regardless, take care of the ladies out there for Valentine's Day, all right? Make sure you get that done. Don't end up in the doghouse. I've already got the reservations set. We're ready to roll. We got all the bases covered. So hopefully everybody is having an awesome February so far. Man, the weather kind of broke down here a little bit. Excited about that. We are going to be in the 60s and close, I think actually the 70s in the next few days. So maybe spring is right around the corner, no matter what that groundhog said. So what we're going to dive in today, we're going to talk about a new coaching change. All right. As another Matt LaFleur staff member, another coach has been poached from his coaching staff. It's amazing how some people looked at Matt LaFleur like he was a horrible coach, don't know how to hire, don't know how to put a staff together, underachiever, whatever you want to call it, 16th all-time winningest coach in terms of winning percentage. But they would kind of pick him apart. But everybody across the league seems to think he put together a pretty damn good coaching staff, right? It's funny how that works. So we'll dive into the coach that has now been poached from Matt LaFleur's staff. We also may talk a little draft on the backside. So that's kind of what we got on tap this morning. Obviously, we're in that window now where restructures could happen at any moment. We'll keep an eye on that and see if anything does happen. But before we get into everything, if you would, do me a favor, do that YouTube stuff, hit like, hit subscribe. If this is your first time tuning into PTA, welcome. Thank you for making us a part of your morning. We are not experts. We're not insiders. We're not media members. We're fans just like you, talking Packers on a daily basis. So if you're looking for that type of content, make sure you hit like, make sure you hit subscribe, click the bell icon so you don't miss out on future live streams. I see everybody in the chat filing in. I love it. Actually, we'll just call him Lil Mick. All right. Lil Mick says, now who, right? It feels like everybody's getting poached. And then he talks about these special teams assistant, of course. Let's see what he says here. He says, I really, really like that offseason free agent and draft build yesterday. That would be a home run offseason, in my opinion, especially the cornerback room. Please, Goody, hit one like that. And again, man, when we look at the positions, we're now building our cheat sheet, okay? We're building our cheat sheet for the draft. What I like to do is all the players that fall in the top 100 on our PTA big board. And again, the board is still shuffling, so I have to redo this several times. But what you do is you put how many players fall in your top 100 at each position. And then you've got the positions of needs listed out, and you can kind of see, all right, oh, wow, we're really heavy at top 100 prospects at this position. This position, not so much. The big thing that sticks out to me is cornerback. There's a bunch of prospects in our top 100. Defensive tackle, probably just a little more than half of the amount of cornerbacks. So all that stuff matters in how you approach free agency. I promise you that Goody's staff are looking at the same type of things right now. They're looking at, okay, how deep is this draft at specific positions? All right, we probably want to be a little more aggressive in free agency to try to fill those holes in certain aspects of the roster in that regard. We'll do the same thing with defensive tackle, like I said, linebacker, offensive line especially. I'm just right now kind of building the cheat sheet out. And then we also, below it, will build a cheat sheet for free agents. All right, so same thing. What free agents really pop to us? You know, what checks all the boxes in important statistical categories in terms of market value? Do we feel like that's overinflated by statistics that we don't care that much about, right? All those things kind of come into factor. We'll have a cheat sheet for free agency as well. And obviously, we'll be bringing you all the action live here on the channel. We got Nick McSwain in here. Good morning to you, Nick. Hopefully you're having a great day. We got Jen Wright. Good morning. We got Thomas in the house. Good to see you. We got Chad Inc. We got Soder. Soder says Browns fans about to learn what real special teams futility looks like. We'll see, right? Now, what if he goes, Soder, what if he goes over to the Browns and just dominates, right? And they got a great special teams. Some point we got to go, maybe it's the special teams players that we're signing, right? What's up, Chris? Good to see you, buddy. Good to see you in here. Nick McSwain in the chat says, people say LaFleur is bad at hiring coordinators, but he was forced to keep Pettin and Bisaccia was, he was forced to keep Pettin and Bisaccia was one of the best special teams coaches in the league before he came to Green Bay. Barry was the only bad one. And, some would say he wasn't really a bad one. I mean, you look at the numbers. I know Wildy and Tausch did a good job breaking it down. When you look at that last 5-game stretch last year, Barry's numbers are actually significantly better than Jeff Hafley's. If you take Joe Barry's overall numbers and you look at how Jeff Hafley's defense kind of ended the season, it wasn't a pretty finish. No, again, I know they were banged up, but I agree out of everything you kind of mentioned there, Barry probably was the worst choice up to this point. And obviously other teams have poached the heck out of our offensive coaches as we moved along as well, right? And like Nick says, he did go on to say, and even Barry started off strong. He really did. And again, that's just kind of the nature of the beast, man. You get in these situations where when you've got a new defensive coordinator, teams don't really know how to game plan for that guy. And that first year, you kind of catch them off guard. The second year, they catch up. I mean, you guys remember we talked about it here on the show. Going into year 2, don't expect the same level of defense that we got the year before from Jeff Hafley, right? Because teams are going to have a lot of tape on them. Now you pick up Micah Parsons, and that really does inject a lot of energy, a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of production into the defense, obviously. But by the end of the season, you can see teams really had Jeff Hafley's number in terms of defense. It wasn't horrible, but nowhere near what we would have hoped or wanted, right? So it is what it is. Now let's get into the news of the day. Good to see you. We got Darren in here. We got Coach Lynn as well. All right, so let me go ahead and earmark this. Let's dive into this breaking news that happened. It really kind of happened last night, and I was trying to piece everything together here as I went through the morning, grabbed a cup of coffee, and we're going to give you guys an update on some of the coaching staff changes. But the breaking news, of course, another Packers coach is poached from LaFleur's staff. You can see we added a coach. We cut one loose. We talked about the new coaching addition there in Will Smart. If you guys want to go watch that video, you can find it. I'll try to attach it to the backside of this video so you have it easily accessible. We did a complete breakdown of his playing career, how injuries cut that short, and obviously what he brings to the table for the Packers coaching staff. Now, Ari Miroff broke the news to the best of my knowledge. It's where I first seen it. Said a source, the Browns are hiring Packers assistant special teams coordinator Byron Storer as their new special teams coordinator, a big hire for head coach Todd Monken. Storer has been a key assistant for Rich Bisaccia with the Raiders and Packers and now gets to run his own unit in Cleveland. Now, it's easy to go, oh, why would they do that? Why would they do that? I don't know. Maybe they're watching the tape and they're going, wow, these players are making mistakes that they're just not good on special teams. Maybe teams are looking at it that way. I promise you this, if Rich Bisaccia got let go by the Packers, he would have a job tomorrow. Now, is it warranted? I don't know. And do I think Rich Bisaccia is a huge difference maker in special teams? I think we would all agree, obviously is not. But to just kind of pin it all on the coaches, and that's why special teams has been so bad when, I mean, again, if it's one special teams coordinator, you go, okay, he was bad at his job. All right. If it's second one, you go, you kind of start to see a trend. Maybe it's how we're building the roster. Then you get to the third special teams coordinator and they're still bad. And now you get to the fourth special teams coordinator and they're still bad. I'm sorry, man. I just don't want to keep beating my head on the table, pretending like it's all of these coaches are just all horrible. That's the problem. It ain't the problem. It's the priority that you put in your special teams unit, in my opinion. And here's the other thing. We can't rule out, if I were to try to flip the coin here and look at it from a different angle, we can't rule out that Matt LaFleur went to Byron Storer, said, hey, we're going to move in a different direction. We're going to bring in another assistant for Rich Bisaccia. I think we would all agree that's kind of what we wanted. We wanted something to change. You either build the bottom half of the roster to make sure that your special teams is a priority, or maybe you do have to go change the coaching staff and shake it up a bit. But when you look at it from that angle, if he did go to Byron Storer and say, hey, man, you need to go looking for other work, that didn't get leaked out of the building. And also, the Browns hired him pretty quick, right? This is a poaching. This isn't like he was cut loose. He was told he was going to be cut loose. Therefore, the Browns decided they wanted to hire him. This is somebody that the Browns went through the entire league and said, all right, this is the dude we want to run our special teams. I'm excited to watch it because, again, if Byron Storer, if he goes on to do great things in Cleveland, and we look up and go, okay, wow, they've got a top 15 special teams unit, which they're probably already ranked ahead of us, right? So if they're already ranked ahead of us in special teams, I'm assuming they are. Maybe they're not. But, I mean, portion of the fan base talks like our special teams is just absolutely horrid, right? So if that's the case, I imagine they would have a better special teams than us. And if that's the case, and he goes over there and they get even better or they finish ahead of the Packers, I mean, who was it then? Was it the players or was it the coaches? Right. So again, that is the big change. There is the special teams, the assistant special teams coordinator and Byron Store, second in command of the special teams, only behind Rich Bisaccia, your assistant head coach, is being hired by the Browns as their new special teams coordinator. Now, let's get into some of the coaching staff changes real quick. Again, I just try to update this as often as I can using AI, just kind of give you guys an idea of what's changed on the surface. So, outgoing coaches, obviously Jeff Hafley was your DC last year. He goes to Miami to be the head coach. Jonathan Gannon replaces him here in Green Bay. Obviously Gannon, former Cardinals head coach and Eagles DC, orchestrated the NFL's #1 pass defense in 2022 and led a unit that recorded 70 sacks. Now, your defensive passing game coordinator was Derrick Ansley. He decided not to return. I think he got a job somewhere else, if I remember correctly. So he got word, I'm sure, that Bobby Babich was going to be our defensive passing game coordinator. That might have been something that Matt LaFleur told him, hey, look, here's the direction I'm going in. You can still stay on staff, but it's going to be a demotion. He chose to go somewhere else. But obviously Bobby Babich, the former Buffalo Bills defensive coordinator, developed all-pro Matt Milano as a linebacker and led the NFL's #7 total defense in 2025. Now, defensive backs coach was Ryan Downard. He also leaves with Jeff Hafley to the Miami Dolphins. Well, Bobby Babich is it sounds like everything I've heard, he's going to be in a combined role there of defensive passing game coordinator, secondary coach, along with defensive backs coach, with both of those things kind of sounds very similar, right? So it's probably going to be a combined role. Now, not only did he have experience coaching Matt Milano up to an all-pro level of play at linebacker, he also coached Jordan Poyer, all right, and Micah Hyde. Jordan Poyer, under his tutelage, was a first-team all-pro, and Micah Hyde was a second-team all-pro. All right, they both had career best seasons under Bobby Babich as their defensive backs coach there, okay? And that's kind of how he's played a role in the secondary. Now, wide receiver coaching change, Ryan Mahaffey went to the Philadelphia Eagles, okay? So he goes to the Philadelphia Eagles, and we replace him with Noah Pauley. Noah Pauley is probably one of, if not the most exciting additions or hires to the Packers coaching staff. Obviously, has a Christian Watson connection there, former North Dakota State University coach who developed Christian Watson, joins from Penn State. He also led Iowa State to a top-tier passing attack. So, again, when you look at Noah Pauley's background, his history, he coached up Christian Watson at North Dakota State, okay? Then he went to Iowa State, and at Iowa State, he coached up Jalen Noel and Jaden Higgins, who were both early draft picks. I think Jaden Higgins was a second-round pick. Noel might have been right behind him or a little bit later, but they're two of the better receivers in the draft last year. Matter of fact, I might have it right here in all of my cheat sheets just to give you guys an idea where we had them ranked roughly, if I could find it here, because I know we had a good grade. Actually, that's the wrong one. That's from last year. This is exhilarating content. I want to make sure I get it right here. Let me give you the scores for Jaden Higgins and Jalen Noel. Just a second. Yeah, Jaden Higgins had a 43 score, and Jalen Noel had a 70, both of them top 100 prospects. So obviously that is what Noah Pauley has on his resume recently. Now, again, Penn State, they run off James Franklin. James Franklin ends up going to Virginia Tech. So they hire in a new head coach into Penn State, and Penn State said, you know who I want to be at the top of my list on my staff? I want to go get Noah Pauley from Iowa State. So he goes and hires Noah Pauley, and before he could even get one toe in the building, Matt LaFleur said, nah, Noah, come on over here to Green Bay and be our wide receiver coach. So obviously Noah Pauley wanted to get to the pro level and not hang around in college for too long. So again, that is your new wide receiver coach. Now, linebacker coach, Sean Duggan, he left to the Miami Dolphins with our boy Jeff Hafley. He is replaced by Sam Cephas, all right? And with Sam Cephas, what you're getting is system continuity. You know, he was the former Cardinals linebacker coach under Jonathan Gannon, a Conomowoc native with deep Wisconsin coaching roots. He was at UW-Madison, Platteville. Okay, so that's a guy, Wisconsin native, that has system familiarity, you know, continuity, if you will, with Jonathan Gannon, who comes over from the Cardinals. Now, what are we still looking to replace here? A couple of different things. Actually, let's go to Will Smart, then we'll go to be determined. Okay, so Will Smart was the hire yesterday, right? Or the announcement of the hire, I guess you could say, the breaking news. He's probably going to be the defensive pass rush specialist. Okay. Now, it's kind of listening as a new role. That's the only thing that was kind of reported is he's going to be a pass rush specialist. Will he take over for Wendell Davis, who was the defensive quality control, and then just kind of really key in on pass rush? That could be the case, right? Because Wendell Davis, obviously, he was the ball king. He left to the Miami Dolphins with Jeff Hafley. So it's kind of to be determined to see who, fills that role. And it says these roles are typically filled following the secondary coaching wave. So is Will Smart going to be that guy? I don't know. Because, again, if you list him as defensive pass rush specialist, that is a new role. Now, he could be an assistant to DeMarcus Covington. It sounds like that's what he's going to be, is he's going to be working under DeMarcus Covington. So maybe they just stamp him with defensive quality control. I don't know. But he is a rising star. He joined from Vanderbilt, okay? He's a former Wake Forest player and defensive specialist hired to refine the front four rush under Gannon. So, again, that is just kind of the quick breakdown of the changes that have been made. And you still got a few voids here, okay? Quarterback coaches. Sean Mannion ends up getting the OC job in Philly. Again, people calling for Matt LaFleur to be fired. And then you got the Philadelphia Eagles going, man, we need to go get our next offensive coordinator. What is a team that just exuberates excellence on the offensive side of the ball? Where can we go into their organization and find a young, great mind because they've got such a good offense? Oh, let's go to the Green Bay Packers and let's hire their quarterback coach, Sean Mannion. He'll be our new offensive coordinator. First-time offensive coordinator. Guys, that means a lot too. You're kind of rolling the dice on a guy who's never called plays, right? Who's never been an OC before. So, again, it's just another tip of the cap to Matt LaFleur and the staff he's built. So, obviously, Sean Mannion goes to Philly. We have not announced the quarterback's coach yet. However, the internal candidates look like it might be Luke Getsy, senior offensive assistant, or Connor Lewis are the early names to watch. So Luke Getsy already in-house. I think Connor Lewis is one we interviewed for maybe. I could be wrong. You guys double-check that. And that's what we're looking to fill there. Now, obviously, the assistant to special teams coach. Every time I say assistant to the special teams coach, I want to say assistant to the regional manager. If you guys watch The Office, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So defense or the assistant special teams coach, Byron Stoyer, goes to Cleveland, another promotion from Matt LaFleur's staff to special teams coordinator there. And Cleveland Stoyer was a key disciple of Rich Bisaccia. His departure to become a coordinator in Cleveland leaves a big hole in the special teams room. So now what Matt LaFleur has an opportunity to do is go out and find a great young mind for your special teams assistant. Maybe that's what we can do to help kind of move the needle a little bit more. Again, it's going to take a combination of building up that special teams roster, allocating maybe a couple, I don't know, maybe another $3 million to it. You know what I'm saying? If you can go out and replace this guy who's getting paid, $1.5 million per year, that might be a gunner. I'm just theoretically speaking here, right? Or maybe somebody who's in on kick protection, on field goals off the wing there, right? Kind of like what Mercedes Lewis used to do, right? If you're paying that person, I don't know, $800K to $1.5 million, what if you went out and spent just $3 million on that guy to fill that void, whether it's a gunner or protector? Maybe that type of stuff can help the special teams as well, right? Again, I think that's an important thing to look into. And the great franchises, the great dynasties in history, one being the New England Patriots, that's what they did really well. They did it really well. They would spend money. I remember, if I remember correctly, Matthew Slater was getting paid like $5 or $6 million per year. He was listed as a wide receiver, never took a single snap at wide receiver the years I watched the Patriots and followed that dynasty. You know what he was? He was a gunner. He was a special teams ace, special teams captain, all those things. Now, I understand people see Bo Melton as that, and I got it. But why not go try to find someone like Matthew Slater, right, and have him play opposite of Bo Melton? Now, all of a sudden, your special teams got even better, right? That's the only way you're going to fix special teams. Now, in terms of the kicker, Brandon McManus was great, 95% the year before. Last year, he crapped the bed. Don't know what to tell you. I guess go get a new kicker. I don't know. I'm not convinced that Haversick is the guy, although my wife is. All right, she loves a substitute teacher, but we'll see. Only time will tell, right? Only time will tell if that's actually a good move. So, staff breakdown and continuity. The Will Smart edition. Smart is the definition of a modern hire joining from the Vanderbilt staff. His sole focus is the technical refinement of the pass rush. His hire signals that Gannon wants to move away from, quote, predictable rushes and give players like Lucas Van Ness and Rashawn Gary a more advanced toolkit. the Byron Storer departure. Losing Storer is a significant blow to the Bisaccia era continuity. After spending the last 8 seasons as Rich Bisaccia's right-hand man, Storer accepted the special teams coordinator job in Cleveland. And it's easy to go, well, what did he do here? Well, he was instrumental in Keyshawn Nixon's back-to-back all-pro seasons as a kick returner. Again, it's not Storer's fault. It's not Nixon's fault. It's not Bisaccia's fault that the NFL changed the rules. And all of a sudden, we invested money in a guy that should have been a weapon at kick return. And then when the rules changed, he struggled, and then he decided he didn't want to return kicks anymore, right? If I'm remembering all that correctly, I'm pretty sure that's how that happened. So, and then the Noah Polley hire, of course, is probably my favorite of the year outside of Bobby Babich. This is a major win for Christian Watson. Polley was Watson's position coach at North Dakota State and is credited with turning him into a second-round pick. The move signals Matt LaFleur's commitment to maximizing Watson's wide receiver one potential as he enters a contract year. Also, probably going to work wonders for people like Jaden Reed, right? People like Matthew Golden. I'm excited for Noah Polley to get his hands on these guys. So that is your coaching update. So if you guys are watching this video back later, let me know in the comments, how do you feel? How do you feel about the coaching update? How do you feel about the special teams losing that assistant coach there in Storer? Let us know how you feel about all that. And let's take the conversation over to the YouTube comments. And be sure and hit like, be sure and hit subscribe, click the bell icon so you don't miss out on any future live streams. We appreciate y'all. All right, guys, let's see what the chat's saying, man. I'm going to try to roll back here. It's hard to keep up when we're flying solo. Let's see if we can find. Has anybody got anything they had to say about it? Jen Wright says, feel sorry for Mannion. Bad situation to step into. No one wanted that job. It's really strange, right? Because when you look at that, Jen, it's like Nick Sirianni, 1 second he wants to call a plays, the next second he does. It seems like every time the heat gets ratcheted up on Nick Sirianni, he kind of steers the I don't want to say the blame, but he steers the responsibility in the direction of one of his assistants. Okay, we'll just move on from him and get somebody else, right? That's kind of how that feels like it happens. So I could see what you're saying there with Sean Mannion, that it could be a situation where he steps into that and A.J. Brown's reading books on the sideline. Jalen Hurts, 1 second he's MVP caliber, the next second he's not, right? You got Nick Sirianni, who's an overly emotional quarterback. Now, listen, he's got pelts on the wall. He's a championship coach. He's won Lombardi, right? Like he's done a good job, but he's, arguing with the fans back and forth during games and stuff like that. You got Big Dom, the security guy on the sideline. I don't know what the hell he thinks he's doing. I've watched football my entire life, and I've never seen a security officer following the head coach around and just always looking to get in the limelight. They keep referring to him as Big Dom. Like, I don't look at that guy and go, ooh, wouldn't want to mess with him. I look at that guy and go, I'm just going to stick and move. Like, what the hell is he going to do? So anyway, I don't understand why he's got to be in the limelight. It's just a weird vibe over there. But again, at least a wild town. So as you're looking to build your young coaching career, Jen, these are the type of things you got to do, right? These are the type of things that you got to do. You've got to sometimes, okay, this is going to be a promotion. Let me go over and just try to make a name for myself real quick. And obviously it's going to come with a pay increase and all that good stuff in between. So looks like we're having a few connection issues. You guys let me know in the chat if we have any connection issues. Hopefully y'all can hear me. It keeps flickering on my side, which the internet's been a little bit spotty down here with all the bad weather we've had recently. So yeah, let's see here. Good morning to you, Daryl. Good to see you in here, buddy. Appreciate you swinging through. Just want to hit a couple more of these. Jen Wright says, thanks Savion puts on some weight and is the returner again. I hope he is, Jen. I thought he'd done an excellent job returning kicks. I think we looked it up at one point, and he was like 18th in the league in average kick return yards, per return. And you guys know I like to do things on a per snap basis as opposed to just saying, oh, they're getting this many this game, because obviously if you get more opportunities, the total yardage is going to be more. I like to look at it on a per snap, per attempt, efficiency basis. And I thought he did really well. I hope he stays healthy. I know for someone who played, less than 100 snaps, if I remember correctly, he showed me some stuff. Now, I know he had the fumble there. That was a crucial fumble. I can't remember what game it was against on the jet sweep, but he also had the touchdown the week before. Nobody complained about the jet sweep the week before when we scored a touchdown, right? Or maybe it was the RPO, the screen pass, right? Nobody complains when it works. When it don't work, it's a problem. What's Matt LaFleur doing? He needs to get his head out of his butt. It's amazing how success changes how people feel about the same exact play call. But I thought that Savion showed a lot of promising things, and I'm with you 100%. I want to see him returning kicks too. I really do. Coach Lance says people like Savion Williams. I agree. I don't know any fans that came away going, other than he got hurt, right? And he was hurt coming into the draft process a little bit. So there was a little bit of history there, but obviously they had a second round grade on him. Goody said that. Had a second round grade on him. They were able to get him in the third round. That's great, right? So, yeah, I'm with you, Coach. I think most people liked him for sure. Let's see what else we got in here. Anything else? Yeah, that's a great point. Tim in the chat says Savion played quarterback in high school. He did. He was recruited to play quarterback in college, if I remember correctly. Was it he and Matthew Golden that crossed paths? I want to say he hosted somebody, or they hosted. I think he hosted. I can't remember if it was Matthew Golden or not, but he hosted somebody that was on the Packers roster. He hosted them on their recruiting visit when they were looking to come to. I can't remember if it was TCU or the other school he was at. There were some ties there, but yeah, he had a quarterback background. And you love that, man. You get in a situation where you want to run a little wildcat and throw a little chicanery or a double reverse pass, something like that, which we've seen time and time again between Dan Campbell's offenses. And I want to say that Ben Johnson ran it several times this year as well. You could throw that wrinkle in and, it kind of turns into an RPR. He can throw it or he can run it. He's a hard runner, a physical runner. His numbers coming out of college, his contested catch rate was through the roof. It's weird because he had kind of a high drop rate, right? Which essentially means, all right, the ball hits you in the hands, you should catch it, or it's in the catch radius, you should catch it, you dropped it. But then when he had to go up over somebody for a 50-50 ball, I want to say he led the nation or was top 5 in the nation in contested catch rate. So that was all over the tape. And then lo and behold, the Giants game, when you needed a big play, he was out there on 1 foot playing hurt. He made a contested catch on a huge play, a huge throw there from Jordan Love. So you've seen the college tape translate over to the pros. I think Savion's going to be great, especially, see, we talked about Noah Polley and what he could do with Matthew Golden and Christian Watson and Jaden Reed. We didn't even talk about what he could do with Savion, right? Because really, when you think about it, Savion's a bigger receiver. What is he, like 6'2" or 6'3"? So he's cut a little more from the cloth of Christian Watson than obviously Jaden Reed, Matthew Golden. So who knows, man? Maybe we look up halfway through the season next year and Noah Polley's got Savion Williams playing great, and he's our number 2 receiver. That could be the case. And that's the difference between me and other fans, to be honest with you. And maybe you guys disagree, and that's okay. But I don't care where they're drafted. I remember fans thinking Donald Driver got too many targets. And I'm like, who cares? It's working. Like, I don't care that he was a 7th round pick. Now, obviously, you get 10 years down the road or however long Donald Driver played, he's a fan favorite. But at the time, I remember people complaining like, we're taking snaps away from this guy. Once you make the roster and you get into camp, I just really wish – I think coaches try to do it, but GMs stay involved, obviously. Forget the draft pick. Forget the salary. Forget how much money they're making. If they're not the better player, get them off the field. That's just the way I see it. So I know there's a portion of the fan base that would be upset if Savion got more targets than Matthew Golden, because what we've seen with Matthew Golden, and don't get me wrong, I think Matthew Golden is going to be a better receiver than Savion. However, if Savion's the dude that needs to become the next Tay Adams for this offense, or the next, trying to think, back in the day, Greg Jennings, Jordy Nelson, help, even a James, whatever it is, like whoever it is on this receiving core that needs to be that, great. I could care less. About the draft pick, right? So, and the fact that, like Tim says, Savion played quarterback in high school, I think it's a testament to the FBI. Obviously, the football IQ there is absolutely huge. So, let's see here. Yeah, Coach Lynn said 6'3", 222. Jen Wright says 6'4", she thought. And it depends on where you go get the information. I think Coach had it right. I want to say it was 6'3" was the official combine measurements. That's what you want to look at, is look at the RAS card, and that'll tell you what they actually measured at the combine. Because, again, you get some of these guys, Diego Pavia, he was listed as 5'10" and 5'11" throughout his whole college career. He gets to the Senior Bowl, and he's 5'9". It's like, okay, I'll give you an inch difference there. Like, okay, it's easy to be off, an inch on height, but what are we talking about here? What are we doing? So yeah, very, very, very interesting there. So again, 6'3", 6'4", something like that, right? Chad Inc. says Savion is a big dude. He looks big next to the big guys. He really does. Next to the offensive lineman, you don't go, wow, he's tiny next to them. You go, damn, is that a tight end? That's really what he looks like. Obviously, he's not as thick as our tight ends, but definitely a bigger dude, no doubt about it, man. No doubt about it. Let's see here. Yeah, Jen Wright Driver was a beast. Such a stand-up dude, man. You talk about coming from nothing. And still to this day, a great guy, right? Just always smiling, always upbeat, always taking care of people. Yeah, just a great dude for sure. Coach Lance says he's got that height, weight combo Green Bay looks for. Yes, bigger body, right? Bigger body dude for sure. That's what was it was off a little bit with Matthew Golden was he was a smaller guy, although I think he did still meet the threshold or right on the cusp of it. So it wasn't like a huge difference, but yeah, they would much rather have a bigger receiver for sure, man, for sure. Let's see here. Thomas Ott in the chat says, then add a healthy Kraft who was on his way to a breakout season. Man, it's exciting to think about. When I think about the tight end room, I think in a multitude of ways. Like, I'm excited about Tucker Kraft, and I think if there's a player that can return from an ACL like Christian Watson, i.e. stronger or better than he was before, and Christian was better than he was before. That was wild to me that he played better. We expected his hands to get better, right? We knew he was going to know the offense in and out because he probably extra study in there because he couldn't, maybe run or work condition as much as he wanted to with the ACL. You got to kind of limit yourself in the rehab. But man, he didn't miss a step, didn't lose a step, still got the same speed. To me, he looked like he bulked up a little bit. His hands got better, his route running got better, everything got better. So if Tucker Kraft comes back better, that's awesome. But we need that second tight end. And I don't hate Musgrave. I think there's a portion of the fan base that thinks Musgrave is a really bad football player. I don't think he's a really bad football player. Now, he hasn't lived up to that second-round draft pick. There's no doubt about that, right? Obviously, we take him in the second. You take Tucker in the third, if my memory serves me correctly. Tucker ends up being the far better player. But Tucker maybe doesn't get those. This is a perfect example. If Luke Musgrave doesn't get hurt, what was it, their rookie year, I believe? Rookie or their second year, whenever it was. If he doesn't get hurt and Tucker Kraft gets those extra snaps, right? So if Tucker doesn't get those extra snaps, do we even see the potential that Tucker Kraft has? That's what I'm talking about putting the best players on the field. We were going out there, and because Luke Musgrave was a second-round pick, well, he's the starter. He's the starter. He's the starter, And again, I don't think that's the coaching staff necessarily just doing that. I think there's some, again, keep in mind, all these decisions, they're meeting behind the scenes, right? Ed Policy, Brian Gutekunst, Russ Ball, and Matt LaFleur, they're all meeting. So it's a collaboration. No one person's over the other. We know the structure stayed the same. So I think you get a little bit of that. Well, he needs to see the field. He needs to see the field. Goody said it as a presser the other day. Don't take my word for it. Take his word for it. He's like, well, you got to get the young guys on the field. When Wildy pressed him on, like, don't you think you need to add some veterans? Like, why is it that you don't want to sign anyone who's over 30 years old? And he said, well, it's taking snaps away from the young guys. You don't see what you got in the young. I get that. And they're called progress stoppers. And I understand the whole Bill Parcells way of thinking. But at the same time, it's like, when I hear that, what I hear is, I don't care that this player is better now. I want to unlock the potential of this player as soon as possible. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but there's pros and cons to every decision you make. Like, if your decision is going to be, this player is a B, and I'm going to start this C over him because I think he has a potential, right? And this guy, we already know what we have. Well, if you do that, the pro is you may unlock that A potential. The con is, in big-time situations with a young player that's inexperienced, probably going to have things happen like what happened against Chicago in the playoffs. That's just kind of how I see that. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but how about we add youth like we always do? You give them an opportunity to win the job, and whoever the hell wins the job, they're the best option. They go play. Chances are that player's going to get hurt, and the young guy's going to get a shot anyway, right? But when you force the young guy into the limelight, when you got someone who's better right now, and then one or two things go wrong, right? Matthew Golden disabled his social media last year because it got so loud. And again, the loudness wasn't necessarily Golden's a bad football player. It was the Packers aren't using him right. They're underutilizing. They're blah, 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 blah. And I'm going, but the tape is showing he's running the wrong routes at times. The tape is showing that he's not running the route at the right depth. The tape is showing on a choice route, he chose the wrong angle and then a defender right into Christian Watson. That's what the tape is showing, okay? And then, okay, that's just my interpretation of the tape. I could be wrong. Then Jordan Love comes out in the back half of the season. He was asked in a presser, what changed with Matthew Golden? He seemed to pop. Well, yeah, I think he has a better understanding of the offense, and I think he's running much better routes. Everything that Love said without saying he was doing those wrong before, he's saying he's doing it much better now. Put 2 and 2 together. That's what happened with Matthew Golden. So again, you press him out there and you don't get the production you're looking for. Now what happens? He gets his own head, gets it in his own head. And then the social media presence gets all out. He has to turn off social media for a bit, right? So all that stuff, again, it's like a quarterback. When you go to a starting quarterback, you got to know he's the best option for you. And you don't turn back from that, right? Like what happened with J.J. McCarthy? I don't think J.J. McCarthy looks like he's going to be a great quarterback. But I'll tell you this. If he had got to sit a full season, okay, and again, people say, well, he did sit a full season as rookie. He was hurt. He didn't even get to participate in training camp hardly, right? So he gets this whole full season where he's rehabbing and this and that. And then who was the guy he was sitting behind? He was sitting behind Sam Darnold. Everybody's talking like Sam Darnold is like the second coming of Joe Montana right now. And when you look at his stats in the Super Bowls, guys, he got the job done. Don't get me wrong, right? And I think it's hilarious that Minnesota let him go. They should have kept him for one more year at least and let J.J. McCarthy learn behind him. But his Super Bowl statistics, what was he in the 50s? Like in terms of the completion percentage? You know, he's not the reason they won the Super Bowl. He's not. But he didn't hurt their chances either. So it's a perfect example of if Minnesota had kept Sam Darnold, they would have been way better off. And maybe that would have helped J.J. McCarthy's career early on so he could kind of get a little more time of learning. You know, everybody likes to rake the Packers over the coals for sitting Jordan Love and sitting Aaron Rodgers for so long. Boy, did it work out, right? Because they turned into great quarterbacks because they're not gun shy. They're not going out there and getting their ass kicked and kind of playing against the grain, so to speak. So let's see. What else we got in here in the chat? I'm going to try to keep you guys included as much as I can, especially when the news is kind of slow, right? Let's see. Jen Wright says passing game is going to cook next year. I agree. To me, it kind of feels like there's emphasis going in there, Jim, with the hiring of Noah Pauley. They kept Coach Butkus, right? It looks like as of right now, Adam Stenavich is staying. That may change. I don't know, but it looks like they didn't do anything to the run game, at least as of February the 11th, as we're talking right now. But they did go get Noah Pauley. They had to replace him, but I feel like they upgraded there. Jordan Love, I think, is going to take another huge step. Who's going to be the quarterback coach? Is it going to be Luke Getsy? We'll find out, right? That's going to play a big role as well. So I said send up the bat signal to Coach Clements again, but I was kind of joking, but kind of not, to be honest with you. So, yeah. All right, let's see here. Anything else? Daryl in the chat said if Musgrave stayed healthy, he would have been a tight end one other than Kraft. Kraft started quietly. It's true. It's true, Daryl, but, the problem with it is it doesn't mean that Musgrave would be at the level Kraft is, right? And that's kind of what I was saying is like the thought of Kraft getting limited snaps because Musgrave never got hurt scares me. And I think that's there's a problem with that when it comes to, trying to play players where you drafted them as opposed to, the opposite. So Jen Rice says, can't wait for the offseason when Reed, Watson, Wicks, Golden can work out together. Yeah, the videos are awesome on IG for sure when they start throwing those out. Wicks is an interesting one, man. I'm so up and down on Wicks. I feel like he played better last year than he did the year before, obviously. But then he ended up having that bad drop there down the stretch, right? Which Reed had one too. None of the throws were perfect, but if it hits you in the hands, you should catch it. I think we would all agree. But yeah, I'm interested to see what Wicks does because one second I look at him and go, this dude could be a top 10 receiver in the league just based off of the mechanics, the tools, right? How he plays the game. And then you see the performance. Sometimes you go, man, I don't know if he's going to be on the roster next year. It's just, there's just a big, and that inconsistency is probably why he dropped. He fell as far as he did in the draft, right? All that stuff comes into play too. So let's see here. Yeah, J. Cole, but somehow ESPN will tell you Darnold is better than Love. It's just, you could just tell people don't do the research, man. It's just a lazy way to cover the game. I heard an argument the other day between Dan Orlovsky and Mina Kimes, and I've got all the respect in the world for Mina. I think Mina knows more football than most football guys, right? Most football fans that are guys. But that was just such an awkward conversation because Dan was preventing facts, and it's like she was not going to hear it. And of course, that's how those shows are That's how those shows are geared. And I'm not saying Dan's perfect. Dan's made plenty of bad takes too, right? He's on ESPN. I think it's a qualification for the job, to be honest with you. But it's obviously it's not as exciting to talk about the things that I talk about, where it's like, okay, here's very matter of fact. Here's what the numbers show. Here's what the tape shows. What do you guys think? Let's bounce it off each other. ESPN is, all right, the production meetings. Let's sit down. All right, guys, here's the plan. Here's the topic. I want you to say this. I want you to say this. I want you to say this. Get very animated. Ready? Break. That's how they run their show. So you're not really learning anything, but I guess it can be entertaining if you like that kind of drama. That's like some people were entertained over this Super Bowl halftime talk. You know, they love the division. They love fighting over it. And I'm like, I just don't get it. I don't understand it. I don't. But that is today's society, man. All right, let's see what else we got here. Hit a couple more. Jen Wright says, Vrabel dapping up, I think is what she meant. Dapping up Love made me smile, gaining respect through the league. Yeah, it was cool. He spotted him and made an effort to go over to him. I like Mike Vrabel. Mike Vrabel's a good coach. He's a good leader of men, you know. If you could take Vrabel's leadership style, and it helps when you played at a very high level and you've got Super Bowl rings as a player, right? Which Vrabel has, I think, multiple rings, if I remember correctly. It helps with the players. But if you could take Vrabel's, the way he interacts with the players and his kind of coaching style with Matt LaFleur's football mind and make that one coach, my God, you probably got a top 5 coach in NFL history, you know? So every coach has got pros and cons. They got strengths and weaknesses. And yeah, Mike Vrabel's a good man, I think. I think he's just that edginess to him, right? He's walking around with a dip in, you know. They said it ain't nothing for people to see him smoke a cigarette. And it's like players are like, this dude's just himself. And how he is with the media too. You know, Belichick was just rude to the media. And that's another reason why he's not going to the Hall of Fame, the first ballot. And I think it's just absolutely weird. It's just strange. It's so strange. It's kind of like when Aaron Rodgers had to speak out about the MVP because, you know, people already said, I'm not voting for him because his stance on vaccination. It's like, what does that got to do with football? Just like, what does the halftime show got to do with football? It has nothing to do with it, right? But with Vrabel, you could tell he doesn't enjoy talking to the media, but he's not rude. He's very stern. You could literally hear it in the reporters' voices. They're like, I ain't saying anything to piss this guy off. Ain't gonna do it. So he handled the media really good as a player too. I remember watching his pressers back in the day and everything. So let's see here. Coach Lynn says Watson has to catch that post in the red zone. Completely agree, Coach. Completely agree. You know, you can say that, Coach, because you played the game. I want to say you were either wide receiver or DB. I can't remember either way. Doesn't matter. Still applies. You can say that because you've had to go over the middle. You've had to go up and try to catch a football as a receiver or as a DB with traffic all around. Me, never having played at a high level, it's hard for me to go, he's got to catch that ball, you know, because I'm going, boy, if he goes up and completely sells out and catches that, you know, because I want to say I want to say he short-armed it, but he was like he was expecting the ball in a little bit different spot, but it was definitely on Watson more than Love. Love put it in a bucket, no doubt. But it's like, man, I try to refrain from those type of things, saying those type of things, because I don't know how I could make that catch in that kind of traffic. You know what I'm saying? Like, and you got to as an athlete. I'm not making excuses for him, but I just don't feel comfortable being like, let me tell you what I'd have done. I'd have went in there and taken 3 shots to the ribs and hauled that ball in and lowered my head and went in the end zone, you know? Because, again, I've never been in that situation. So look at that a little bit different, but I respect your opinion on it because, like I said, you've lived it, man. You've lived it. Yeah, wide receiver. That's what I was thinking. So there you go. Yeah. All right, let's see here. What else do we got? People together. I want to make sure. I got to be careful. Anytime I mention the Super Bowl, I can't just throw comments up because it might get out of control. So, or the halftime show, rather, not necessarily the Super Bowl. All right, cool. I think we're good. Guys. Like I said, I just want to get you all involved a little bit while the news cycle was a little bit slow. So that's your breaking news. We got that to you all. We'll edit that out so people can go back and watch it and just get that information and get out quick. I'm trying to make it as convenient as possible for everyone on the show. So when you come to the channel, if you got time to watch a live stream, that's what we want. We want you in here hanging out. We got a bunch of people in here. We greatly appreciate everybody. If y'all would hit that like button. So love having you guys hang out in the live stream, but also I want to make sure that we're editing these out for the people that, man, I've only got 15 minutes. What happened with the Packers? Oh, there's breaking news on the coaching staff. Bang. I can watch that. So I'm trying to get that stuff cleaned up and put on the channel for y'all. So you got that. So, Mike Berry says, not even in the backyard, Clayton. Come on, hey, man, let me tell you, backyard football back home in Kentucky. Ooh-wee. There's few things from my childhood that I really look back on and think, man, that was a great time. And I won't get into the details, but that is one. We had a field. I could pull it up on Google Earth and show it to you. It's still there to this day. You guys got a few minutes. I'm going to do it. Heck with it. Let's do it, man. Let's do it. We'll lose some viewers, but that's all right, man. Y'all want to hang out in here? I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. But where we played backyard football at, we still talk about it to this day. I got people that message me all the time on social media, and they're like, man, I miss those days. I miss those days. So let me get it up on the screen. This will be fun. I'll show you guys where I'm from. I'm from a small town in Kentucky. It's called Benham, Kentucky. It was known as the Tri-Cities. Let me hit the super chat, and then we'll get back to it here. Thomas Ott with the super chat. Thank you so much, buddy. He says, awesome show as always, Clayton. Best fam on YouTube. Thank you so much, Thomas. We appreciate it, man. You're always too kind to the show. We greatly, greatly appreciate the dono. You are awesome, man. Thank you so much. All right, so let's see if we can show you guys where this old redneck's from. This will be fun. All right. So Benham, Kentucky. All right. So you see the eastern part of the United States. I hate when they do this, how they don't. Listen, I took map reading when I was younger, and if it's not completely set to north and south, I'll lose my mind. All right, so here we go. Benham, Kentucky. You see those big ridge of mountains right here. I'm talking about right in the heart of the Appalachian Mountains. This mountain range right here is the highest point in Kentucky, right there on the Kentucky-Virginia line. Okay, that's called Black Mountain. All right, so you get to the base of the mountain, you can see the road kind of disappears in the woods, and all of a sudden it just reappears right here, right? You go through a small town called Lynch, okay? And once you get through Lynch, you get into Benham. So here's Benham, all right? And I won't show you the exact house, but I lived in this, I grew up, let me find it here. I should be able to find it fairly easy. Yeah. I grew up in this neighborhood right here, okay? That's where I grew up. So dirt box, all that. I had this all in my backyard. We didn't own the land. You see all the logging roads, right? That is, that's owned by a company. It was at the time called Arch Coal Mining Company. They own all this. You see all this mountains. It's just untouched, right? Been all over that with my dirt bike, all over it. Just awesome. I mean, I could literally go to the top of my mom and dad's street, come right up in here, hit the trail on the dirt bike, and just ride for hours. So anyway, down the street, I just literally had to go down the street, and you see this rec park here, right? So you see the baseball diamond. That was an old baseball stadium way back in the day. They tore it down, and it just turned into kind of an extra practice field for the Little League teams. Okay, so that's where that was at. Now, this is what's cool. I wasn't even a Packer fan at the time, but there's a cool story here. So we would make this the football field. Okay, this right here was the football field. So we would kind of run, turn that into a rectangle. We wouldn't paint it off, obviously. That's where we play backyard football. Now, you see these big, what is this right here, Clay? What's that big dirt spot? What is that? That's gravel. All right. This, too, as you got closer over here, was all gravel. Looks like grass is taking it in now. So that's where we played backyard football at, just right down the street from where my parents lived. Now, our normal Little League field is over here. That's where we played Little League baseball. Beautiful backdrop, too, big cliff line. You can kind of see it going straight up a ridge line there. I mean, that mountain's real steep. But that's where we play backyard football. Now, here's what's funny. This fence line right here is broken down. Still is to this day, last I checked. You know why? Because we would do Lambeau leaps on that fence. We would score a touchdown, and we would jump on that fence like we were doing a Lambeau leap. Because keep in mind, I wasn't a Packer fan at the time. I was a Steelers fan, but that was the coolest celebration, right? That was the absolute coolest celebration was the Lambeau leap. And I know people are going to get mad over this being Packer fans, but the Mile High Salute, I thought that was awesome too, with Terrell Davis's background. I think his family had a military background. That kind of triggered it, and that was just cool. The Mile High Salute and the Lambeau leap, that was the two football celebrations, if you will, right, when I was growing up. So anyway, that's where I'm from. When I say backyard ball, that's where we were playing at. It's and you're wondering, okay, Clayton, you didn't have a yard to play in? I'll just show you right here. This was my yard. That little space was like, and we would play there too. And you notice the shadow. There's a what do you call it? A clothesline, right? That were posts that were concreted in. So you had to watch the pole. It was like they were always playing middle field close when we were playing backyard ball in my yard and we went down at the park, right? We were always middle field close because if you try to run a post right there, that Christian Watson post, coach, you're going to hit a post. You're going to hit a concrete, a metal post that's concreted in, and you better have your tetanus shot because it was rusted all to hell, man. So that's where that was at. So yeah, good times, man. Good old Looney Creek. Done a lot of fishing in that creek. Ask me what we fished for. Anything we could find up here on the other side of Looney Creek, if I could find it. This used to be an old gas station when I was a kid. We used to walk up there. It's now been closed for years. We'd walk up there and we would, buy candy and soda and stuff like that. Back home, we called it pop. I don't know if y'all call it pop or not, but in Kentucky, it was called pop. This was what we called the steel bridge. So there was a piece of iron that stretched across the water, and it was from the old railroad tracks and stuff and stuff that they had built. It was just a big I-beam is what it was. So it wasn't from the railroad tracks. It's probably from one of these old storehouses, bathhouses, and things from the coal mining days, right? But it actually stretched across that water, and we always called it the steel bridge. They removed it because they found out we were jumping off of it into the water. So once they removed it, you could still jump off a platform right here where it was. So it didn't fix the problem for them, and we got hurt many times jumping off that steel bridge. But over here, you had what we called the mosh pond. Okay, so over here was like it got to be really, really swampy. And in that swamp, you could go over there, and I'm telling you, there were turtles, snapping turtles. I'm talking about snapping turtles that were, huge, 3 foot long. Looked like a big sea turtle or something. So when you hear the accent, it's authentic. All right. There ain't no faking this. So that was it, though. That's it. That's where we grew up, man. High school was Cumberland High School over here. Played baseball. The field is still there. I don't know if anybody plays on it, but that high school has been closed down now. And that's not even the high school. That's where we played ball. But the high school itself is here. It's old and run down and dilapidated. I mean, you could see it actually if we went. I think we can go street view. You can kind of see how bad it is. It's pretty run down. Let me put you right here. Let's see if we can get a view of it here. So they cleaned up that with you can see the windows all busted out. That's the high school I went to. So what they did was they consolidated. Now they have Harlan County High School. So they consolidated a bunch of county schools there, or schools that they just turned into one. This right here, I don't know if you guys had this when you were a kid, kind of hard to see back in there. That was the smoking section. When I was in school, you were allowed to smoke. That's where the students would go on break and they go out there and smoke. Just amazing how times have changed, man. Absolutely wild. Let me walk you around the side here toward the gym. So, yeah, you see how run down it is. But, yeah, that's the old middle school up there. I can't believe we're talking about this live on the show. It's hilarious. But we had time, right? It's all good. So, extra content. I don't know how, but the viewership went up. It's absolutely hilarious. So, there you go, man. And you see it said Redskin Drive. That's right. We were called the Redskins. So, I remember at the time they were trying to get the name changed, too. That was something that was going on a long, long time ago, for sure. But anyway. There you go. There's your redneck breakdown of the day. That's where your boy's from. So anyway, we're going to get out of here, guys. Greatly appreciate everybody hanging out with us. This was a lot of fun. Jay Cole says, man, see, I already closed it out. Clayton grew up in the project. I could have showed you the project. That baseball field I showed you recently, I said we played high school ball on, right next to it are housing projects, right? And you could probably rewind the stream and see it. You'll see some brick structures, one-level brick structures. That's where we lived when I was born. So that was my first home. And then we moved from there to the trailer park in the same neighborhood as my wife. They had a much nicer home. Her parents were the mayors. Okay. Both of her parents were mayors at one point, which is hilarious, right? And I was the trailer park kid. And lo and behold, I don't know, about 10 years later, 10, 15 years later, well, about 10 or 12 years later, we meet each other and been together ever since. So it's hilarious, man. Opposites attract, right? Is what it is. I know her mama wasn't happy when she brought me home the first time, but we finally won her over. So now I get along with her mom more than I do her, to be honest with you. So, all right, we're out, guys. Thank y'all. Do me a favor, hit that like button, hit subscribe, click the bell icon. We'll make sure this is edited out so y'all don't waste your time watching this. But we greatly appreciate everybody hanging out. Everybody in the chat, y'all were awesome today. We'll see you guys later this afternoon. If news breaks, we'll go live. If news doesn't break, we may get in here, talk a little draft board, and talk my cheat sheet and kind of show you, all right, here's the top cornerbacks in the top 100 according to our draft board right now. Same thing with D tackle, linebackers, O-line, and then maybe we'll talk a little free agency as well. I like opening it up, though, and being able to just kind of talk ball with y'all. So it's been a lot of fun. But, yeah, appreciate you, iRock. iRock says go, Pack, go. Amen. Everybody have a great day. We'll see you guys later. My name's Clayton. This is PTA. Go, Pack, go.
Here we go.
We out.
We're out. Bye, guys.